record high food prices and a tight labour market. But the good news is the International Monetary Fund says the UK is no longer heading for a recession. The IMF had forecast the UK to shrink by 0.3% this year. Now it says GDP is set to grow 0.4%. UK inflation dropped sharply to 8.7% in April, falling below 10% for the first time in almost a year. That was helped by easing energy prices and the normalization of global supply chains. But inflation was still worse than expected, as food prices remained at 45-year highs.
Food price inflation is still worryingly high. That's why we've had food producers farmers in supermarkets in to talk about what we can do to reduce the pressure there. And whilst yesterday we had a decisive vote of confidence in the management of the UK economy from the Managing Director of the International Monetary Fund, we now know that we have to stick to the plan to bring down inflation, because that is causing enormous pressure on families up and down the country.
Consumer prices have remained stubbornly high, even with the Bank of England's consecutive rate hikes. The central bank's governor, Andrew Bailey, has put that down to a wage price spiral, meaning employers are offering higher wages to fill vacancies, amid a labour shortage which is pushing up prices. Meanwhile, the government has refused to grant public sector workers the pay rises they're demanding, despite ongoing strikes across several industries. They claim real wages have suffered their largest decline in decades. It's instead introducing laws that would make it harder for key workers to strike.
If this legislation gets on the statute books, we're going to throw everything we can at the government. We're going to challenge them legally, we're going to challenge them industrially. And I send this message clear and unequivocal to the Prime Minister and his government. You might get this legislation on the statute book, but we will not stand by and let you sack one single nurse, one single paramedic, one single teacher, one single railway worker, one single civil servant for exercising their right to strike.
The new law will require minimum levels of service during walkouts by various workers, including healthcare staff, firefighters and railway employees, following a year of disruptive strikes. In January, Prime Minister Rishi Sunak vowed to halve inflation, which would require it to fall to around 5% by the end of the year. That might prove difficult to achieve amid the UK's worst cost of living crisis in a generation. The IMF is optimistic that the economy will continue growing, but says inflation won't return to the Bank of England's 2% target until mid-2025. Tayyibe Aydin, TRT World.